The greatest enemy is within. This is a truth that Bruce Lee, the legendary martial artist, philosopher, and cultural icon, lived by. And today, we're going to dive deep into his psychology, his philosophy, and discover why this one idea, the battle within, is the most powerful force shaping your life. You see, Bruce Lee wasn't just a fighter in the physical sense. He was a fighter in the mental and emotional sense too. His entire philosophy revolved around one core belief: the only person who can truly hold you back in life is yourself. But let's be honest, facing yourself is the hardest fight any of us will ever face. Most people are afraid to even acknowledge that their biggest limiting factor is their own mind. They'll blame the world, other people, or even bad luck. But Bruce Lee believed, as you think, so shall you become. That's where everything starts, your thoughts. And most of the time, the enemy is hiding right there, in the patterns of your thinking.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Bruce understood that to master life, you first have to master yourself. He once said, "I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine." Think about that for a second. How much of your life is spent trying to meet someone else's expectations? How much of your energy is wasted living a life that isn't even yours? This is what Bruce meant when he talked about the inner enemy. It's the part of you that conforms, that doubts, that fears rejection. The part of you that's too afraid to live authentically because you might fail or be judged. But here's the thing, the inner enemy doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's created. It's built brick by brick through years of conditioning. From the moment you're born, society, your family, your environment, they all shape you. You're told what to believe, how to believe, what success looks like, and what failure means. And the more you accept those external definitions, the more you distance yourself from who you really are. Bruce captured this perfectly when he said, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." This is where most people go wrong. They absorb everything without questioning it. They take in beliefs, habits, and fears that don't even belong to them. And before they know it, they're living someone else's life instead of their own. The enemy within becomes stronger every time you silence your own voice to fit in, every time you let fear dictate your choices, and every time you settle for less than you're capable of. But Bruce Lee didn't just point out the problem, he offered a way out. He believed that the path to freedom begins with self-awareness. You have to see the enemy before you can defeat it. He said, "To know oneself is to study oneself in action with another person." In other words, pay attention to how you react in the world. Are your actions driven by confidence or insecurity? Are you making choices based on your true desires or based on fear? Once you become aware of the inner enemy, the next step is to face it. And this is where most people fail. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. It's painful. It forces you to confront parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. But Bruce believed this pain was necessary. He said, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Growth only happens when you're willing to step into discomfort. It's in those moments of struggle that you learn who you really are." Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're stuck? Like no matter how hard you try, you just can't move forward? That's the inner enemy at work. It's the voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that you should just give up. But Bruce had a powerful insight about this. He said, "Defeat is a state of mind. No one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality." Think about that. Defeat isn't something that happens to you, it's something you choose. The moment you accept failure as final, you've lost. But as long as you refuse to give up, as long as you keep fighting, you're still in the game. This is why Bruce believed so strongly in mental discipline. He trained his mind just as much, if not more, than his body. Because he knew that the battle is won or lost in the mind long before it's ever fought in the real world. But here's the catch: mental discipline doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means facing your emotions head on and learning to control them instead of letting them control you. Bruce once said, "Be like water." My friend, what he meant was that you have to be flexible, adaptable. Water doesn't resist, it flows. It bends around obstacles, it finds its way through cracks, and yet it's powerful enough to wear down solid rock. This is how you defeat the inner enemy, not by fighting against it, but by understanding it and flowing around it. When fear shows up, don't resist it, observe it. When doubt creeps in, don't push it away, examine it. The more you understand your own mind, the less power the inner enemy has over you. And here's the most important part: defeating the inner enemy isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily battle. Every day you have to choose to confront your fears, to challenge your doubts, to push past your limitations. Bruce Lee said, "The successful warrior is the average man. With laser-like focus, success isn't about being extraordinary, it's about being consistent. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it." The enemy within will always be there. It will always try to pull you down, to keep you small, to make you settle. But you have a choice. You can let it win, or you can rise above it. You can choose to live a life of fear and regret, or you can choose to face yourself and become the person you were meant to be. Now that we've begun to understand the inner enemy and how it operates, the next step is to go deeper into Bruce Lee's philosophy. Because defeating the enemy within isn't just about resisting it, it's about transforming yourself. And Bruce Lee's teachings give us a roadmap for this transformation. It's not just about fighting, it's about evolving. Bruce believed that the key to transformation lies in self-expression. He said, "Always be yourself, express yourself, have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it." This is one of the most profound lessons he ever shared. Most people spend their lives trying to imitate others. They see someone successful and they think, "If I can just be like them, I'll make it." But Bruce knew that imitation is the death of individuality. The more you copy someone else, the further you stray from your true self. Here's the paradox: the inner enemy often disguises itself as the voice of reason. It tells you to play it safe, to follow the crowd, to do what's normal, but Bruce's philosophy was the exact opposite. He believed that true power comes from breaking free of those norms and fully embracing who you are. He said, "The possession of anything begins in the mind. That means if you want to live a life that's truly yours, it starts with how you see yourself." But how do you actually do this? How do you break free from the conditioning that's been drilled into you since birth? Bruce had the answer: simplify. He was relentless in his pursuit of simplicity. He once said, "It's not the daily increase, but daily decrease." Hack away at the unessential. This applies to every area of life: your thoughts, your habits, your goals. Most of us complicate our lives by chasing too many things that don't matter. The inner enemy loves this because it keeps you distracted. But when you strip away the unessential, you create space for what truly matters: your own growth, your own path. And here's where it gets interesting. Bruce believed that growth isn't about adding more to your life, it's about removing what's holding you back. He said, "Empty your cup so that it may be filled, become devoid to gain totality." This is one of the most challenging ideas to grasp, because it requires you to let go of what you think you know. It requires humility. Most people are so attached to their beliefs, their routines, their version of reality, that they never question if those things are actually serving them. But Bruce knew that true freedom comes when you're willing to let go. This brings us to one of the most powerful tools for defeating the inner enemy, detachment. Bruce once said, "Do not be tense, but ready, not thinking, but not dreaming, not being set, but being flexible." This is the essence of detachment. It's not about being indifferent or emotionless, it's about not letting your emotions control you. It's about being fully present in the moment, without being weighed down by fear of the future or regret about the past. Think about how often the inner enemy traps you in these two places, the past and the future. It reminds you of your past failures to make you feel unworthy. It fills you with anxiety about the future to make you hesitate. But Bruce's wisdom teaches us that the only way to break free is to anchor yourself in the present. He said, "The past is no longer here, and the future is not yet here. There's only this moment and what you do with it." This is where discipline comes in, because being present isn't something that happens automatically. It's something you have to practice every single day. It's a skill, just like martial arts, and like any skill, it takes time and effort to master. But once you do, you'll notice something incredible. The inner enemy starts to lose its grip on you. It thrives on fear and doubt, but when you're fully present, there's no room for those things. There's only action. Bruce believed that action is the ultimate antidote to the inner enemy. He said, "Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do it." How many times have you held yourself back because you didn't feel ready? Because you were waiting for the perfect moment? The truth is, there is no perfect moment. There's only now. And the more you take action, the more you build confidence, the more you prove to yourself that you're capable. But here's the catch: taking action doesn't mean charging ahead blindly. It means acting with intention. Bruce was a master of this. He said, "A goal is not always meant to be reached. It often serves simply as something to aim at." This is such a profound insight because it shifts your focus from the outcome to the process. Most people are so obsessed with results that they forget to enjoy the journey. And when they don't get the results they want right away, they give up. But Bruce understood that the journey is where the real growth happens. The goal is just a guide, it's the path that transforms you. And transformation is not a straight line, it's messy, it's full of setbacks and failures. But Bruce didn't see failure as a bad thing. He said, "Mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them." This is such an important lesson because the inner enemy loves to use your mistakes against you. It whispers in your ear, "See, you failed. You're not good enough." But Bruce teaches us that failure is just feedback. It's a teacher, and if you're willing to learn from it, it becomes a stepping stone to success. At the core of all of this is one simple idea: self-mastery. Bruce believed that the greatest victory you can achieve is over yourself. He said, "Mastery is not attained by merely knowing, it is attained by doing." And this is the ultimate challenge, because the inner enemy will try to stop you at every turn. It will tell you that you're not ready, that you're not capable, that you're not worthy. But every time you choose to act in spite of those fears, you weaken its hold on you. So ask yourself, what is the inner enemy telling you right now? What's the one thing it's using to hold you back? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Because the fight isn't over. The fight is never over. But you have the power to win. Not by fighting harder, but by becoming stronger. By mastering yourself. Now we arrive at the most critical part of this journey, understanding how to truly master the inner enemy and, in doing so, unlock a life of limitless potential. Bruce Lee's philosophy wasn't just about overcoming, it was about becoming. He didn't believe in simply resisting the inner enemy, he believed in transforming it into a source of strength. This is where the real journey begins. It's not about fighting against yourself. It's about integrating all parts of who you are, the light and the dark, the strengths and the weaknesses, and using them to fuel your growth. Bruce once said, "You will never get any more out of life than you expect." This quote holds a profound truth. Most of us limit ourselves not because of what the world throws at us, but because of what we believe we're capable of. The inner enemy thrives on these low expectations. It convinces you to settle. It whispers, "This is as good as it gets. Don't aim higher. Don't take risks." But Bruce didn't live by those rules. He believed that life gives you exactly what you demand of it and nothing more. But here's the catch: demanding more from life starts with demanding more from yourself. Bruce said, "The greatest help is self-help. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to fight your battles for you." This is one of the hardest truths to accept, but it's also the most liberating, because once you realize that you're responsible for your own growth, you stop waiting, you stop blaming, you start taking action. And this is where most people falter. They want the results, but they don't want the struggle. They want the victory, but they're not willing to fight the war. But Bruce knew that struggle is where strength is born. He said, "Do not deny the classical approach simply as a reaction, or you will have created another pattern and trapped yourself there." What he meant was that resistance alone isn't enough. You can't just push against your fears, your doubts, your weaknesses. You have to understand them. You have to work with them. Because every obstacle you face is a mirror, reflecting back the places where you need to grow. Bruce believed that growth is not a linear process. It's not about constant progress or endless positivity. It's about cycles: falling, rising, falling again, and rising stronger each time. He said, "To hell with circumstances, I create opportunities." This mindset is the antidote to the inner enemy. Because the enemy within wants you to feel powerless. It wants you to believe that your circumstances define you. But Bruce teaches us that circumstances are just the backdrop. What matters is how you respond. What matters is the mindset you bring to the challenges in front of you. Take a moment to think about your own life. How often do you let external circumstances dictate your choices? How often do you tell yourself, "I'll start when the timing is better," or "I can't because of this or that"? These are the lies the inner enemy feeds you to keep you small. But Bruce's philosophy reminds us that we are more powerful than we realize. He said, "The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering, and a life worth remembering is not one lived in fear or hesitation. It's a life of bold action, of courage, of stepping into the unknown." But courage isn't the absence of fear. Bruce understood this deeply. He said, "Courage is not the lack of fear. It is the ability to act in spite of it." This is such a profound truth, because most people think they have to get rid of fear before they can take action. They wait until they feel ready, until the fear subsides. But that moment never comes. Fear doesn't go away, it transforms. And the only way to transform it is to face it head on. Here's the practical part: Bruce's philosophy wasn't just abstract wisdom, it was actionable. He believed in training the mind and body together because the two are inseparable. He said, "The mind is the root from which all things grow. If you can control the mind, you can control the body." This is why he trained relentlessly, not just in martial arts, but in mental discipline. He understood that the body is an expression of the mind. If your mind is weak, your body will follow. But if your mind is strong, your body will rise to the challenge. So how do you build this mental discipline? Bruce offered a simple yet profound answer: practice. He said, "If you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you'll never get it done. Make at least one definite move daily toward your goal." This is the essence of disciplined, consistent action. It doesn't matter how small the step is. What matters is that you take it, because every step you take weakens the inner enemy. Every step you take builds momentum. But here's the deeper truth: discipline isn't just about doing, it's about being. Bruce said, "What you habitually think largely determines what you will ultimately become. This is why your thoughts are so important. The inner enemy lives in your thoughts, in the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. If you want to defeat it, you have to change the narrative. You have to replace fear with faith, doubt with confidence, hesitation with action." And this brings us to one of Bruce's most profound teachings: the power of authenticity. He said, "The meaning of life is that it is to be lived, and it is not to be traded and conceptualized and squeezed into a pattern of systems." In other words, stop trying to fit into someone else's mold. Stop living by rules that don't align with who you are. The inner enemy loves conformity because it keeps you small. But Bruce's philosophy is all about breaking free, about living a life that's true to you. This is the ultimate victory over the inner enemy: becoming fully, unapologetically yourself. It's not about perfection. It's not about never feeling fear or doubt again. It's about mastering those feelings, using them as fuel for growth. It's about stepping into your power, even when it's uncomfortable, because discomfort is where transformation happens. Bruce said, "The function of man is to live, not to exist, and that's what this entire journey is about." The inner enemy wants you to merely exist, to play it safe, to stay small, to avoid risk. But Bruce's philosophy invites you to truly live, to embrace the struggle, to face the fear, to rise above the doubts. Because on the other side of that battle lies freedom. The greatest enemy is within, but so is the greatest power. It's up to you to decide which one you'll listen to. It's up to you to decide whether you'll let fear dictate your life, or whether you'll rise above it and become the person you were meant to be. This is the ultimate challenge, the ultimate victory. And it's one that only you can achieve. The question now is, will you take the first step? Will you face the enemy within? That choice is yours and yours alone.